Said you're on.
Okay. So any questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really look at, I just briefly looked at last week's lesson, lecture,
Mm-hmm.
and the physical body has an aura.
Mm-hmm.
And you also mentioned that the earth has an aura. So that leads me to believe that there's certain objects or certain materials, pretty much all materials have their own aura. So like, let's just say there's a deficiency, an ailment with the body, that probably could be perceived in the aura itself. Are there plants that has these properties, and I'm guessing the plant has an aura as well? Could that plant treat that human deficiency, that ailment in that person? Like the plant's aura and the human aura could combine together so that it could bring out a balance?
Well, logic tells us that whatever in the earth is in our body. Okay, that's just science, right? If you, our bodies are made from what? From the earth, yeah, from the elements of the earth. And that's what the yogis said, thousands of years ago. But they described the subtle qualities of it, right? They talked about, the yogis told us that the tavic rays that flow from the sun, right, were the main source of our energy, of our substance. In other words, we are solidified light, right? And the way they described it, that if you look at all the subtle energies and mind energies coming from the sun, you have the main flow of energy is Shakti, right? That comes from the absolute. And it flows through the universe and is picked up by what they call the Mahabindus, which are the suns and solar systems and galaxies, right? So you have the galaxy, and then within the galaxy itself is an entity, is a being, is a living being. And then you have the central sun of the galaxy, which is another aspect of the galaxy, but it's a living being. And this Shakti power flows from there. Now the Shakti power is broken up, and in order for us to understand it, they give 4 principles of the Shakti power, right? Which we know to be a Nani principle, which is when you say Nani, you're also talking about karma, because Nani and karma is interchangeable, right? Then you have the Chitta principle, which is universal mind, right? And then you have the Prana principle, which is absolute power and energy. Then you have the 4th principle, which is a blissful principle, which we understand to be a preservation of force, which is love, a love energy. And from that comes the Mahabindus, which are the cosmic elements, right? And within all of that, you have the initial sound, which was Vak, which turns into Nata or Sata, which is a subtle, soundless sound that permeates the universe and moves this energy throughout the universe. And it goes through all the Mahabindus, which is the suns and planets. The suns are when you say Bindu means a point of origin or compaction of power, right? So the sun is this giant Bindu, which is a compaction of all this power, and it radiates this energy. Now, what happens when it comes to the sun splits the energy up into many, many different aspects. We know that on a cosmic level, you have all these energies combined and they take on a pattern. And then they call that pattern Tavic rays, right? Or Tava rays, right? Those rays in Nimmo, they're 36. But when they enter the sun, they become 360 Tavic rays. And then those Tavic rays are pushed from the sun and they're given to the various planets. Now, if you have a life screen, like yourself and all of us in the room, each one of us have a divine, each one of us is the product of the divine spark of God. We're a spirit. But the spirit is unmanifested. The spirit is never manifested because the spirit was always there and it was always a part of God. But what does the spirit do? The spirit manifests a soul. And then this soul takes this Tavic rays coming from the mighty sun, which is a god. The sun is an aspect of God. All right? They misunderstand the Hindus. It's not God itself, but it's just an aspect of God. It's a major point. It's compaction of creative power that comes from God. Every sun in the galaxy, in the universe, is in its own right a creator, right? So this energy comes from the sun, the soul manifested from the spirit, in order to be the body of the spirit throughout involution and evolution, because it must evolve first, because it comes from spirit, it's a part of spirit. So it must involve a part of itself in order to get on the evolutionary track that we're on now. So what does it do? It pulls this energy from the sun, this Tavic rays, and it manipulates these Tavic rays into a concentrated fashion and create what we call the Shakti consciousness, right? Now this Shakti consciousness is a all-seeing, all-aware consciousness, because why? It becomes the consciousness that the soul will use in order to involve itself. So, and the soul is connected to the spirit, right? So therefore, it has this all-awareness about it, because spirit is connected to what? The absolute. So if spirit is connected to the absolute, then the spirit is just like a cell of something is connected to the whole body. So the spirit is like a cell of God, right? So the same way our cell is connected to us, the spirit is connected to God, to the absolute. So the soul, when the spirit creates a part of itself, manifests something to house itself throughout evolution, it has this all-awareness. But the soul must divorce a part of itself from the all-awareness. So what does it do? It creates the auric body. Almost like if we look out into space, you see a nebula, right? And what they say, what does a nebula do? It manifests as what? Huh? It manifests as gross material. It manifests as planets, solar systems. You know, that's what the scientists, and they kind of close to that. That's kind of what happens, in a sense. The fact that they're missing is that the nebula itself is really a sun. It might be a form. It might be a sun forming. You know, and then the sun comes first, and then the planets come next, because all the planets come from the sun. So at least that's the way the mystics believe it. So, but the soul creates this atmosphere, this auric body, which is layers and layers and layers of magnetic energy from the sun that's trapped in this ovoid envelope. And there you have the nata, you have the sound energy, you have the Shakti energy, you have all 5 Mahabhutas, and now you're going to produce the 5 major pranas too. You're going to extract the 5 major pranas from that and the 5 minor pranas from that. By doing what? When it creates the auric body, it takes the the TAVIC rays that they have concentrated and brought into a configuration that produce consciousness, it takes it and it pushes it down that Brahma Nati space within the auric body, right? And within the Brahmanatic space, you have all possible levels of consciousness. All possible levels of consciousness. From the highest state of consciousness to the lowest state of consciousness, right? So when it pushes this energy, this TAVIC rays that it collected from the sun and manipulated into a configuration of consciousness, it brings it all the way down to what we call the Muladhara chakra, which is the base of the spine region. And there, by karmic law, it goes into a dormant state. And when it goes into this dormant state, then Kundalini is formed. That dormant state of this Shakti power, and which has a configuration of TAVIC rays. Because remember, TAVIC rays is just the mode of motion of all the energies, right? Or it's the karmic pattern of all the energies radiating from the sun. That's all it is. It's every substance of energy coming from the sun through the solar lords, which in ancient times they called them the Lord Vishnu, because Vishnu was the great masters or the solar lords of the sun, right? And that's why they have Vishnu and really in some cartoon type thing. They have Vishnu fighting or arguing with Shiva, which is ridiculous, yeah.
So could you say that the TAVIC rays are really just one energy, but with 360 different configurations and modifications in which it could be?
Well, for our sake, so that we can understand it, because it's all one energy. It's all Shakti. Everything is Shakti, you know. But as Shakti moves away, it modifies itself. I gave you all, many years ago, I gave you a diagram, and I called it the modifications of Shakti. And everything is Shakti, but as Shakti moves through manifestation, it breaks up into many, many different things. So now, all those things that combine are the TAVIC rays. And it's the mode of operation or the configuration of the energies to combine is Tava and the TAVIC rays. And it group itself in different patterns in order to express life. Everything is a TAVIC, is part of the TAVIC spectrum, in other words, or TAVIC matter, in other words.
So when you activate the Kundalini and you rise the serpent, what is exactly happening?
Well, I'm going to explain. That leads us to that. When it goes to the Kundalini, when all these TAVIC rays or Shakti consciousness come down into the Kundalini it's only produced because the power have went dormant. All right? So over 90% of the power is dormant. And there's a small percentage that's not dormant. And that's where evolution starts at. That's where the gross manifestation that we know begins. Right? That manifestation, the Kundalini releases what's called the celestial songs, right? Or nata, or sound vibration. This sound vibration leads the power of Kundalini, the dormant power of Kundalini, and it creates the natis. And the natis creates this matrix of energy. And it's a negative energy and a positive energy. And it creates 242,000 pathways throughout the auric structure, throughout the auric body. Now, as it moves and create these different matrix, what happened is that they intersect at least 108 times, because when they pass a vortex point within the auric structure, because the vortex is already there. Because in order for the aura to stay in existence, it have 108 vortex centers that pulls energy in from the cosmos, right? So what happened is those vortex centers are actually chakras. In the human structure, we have 108 chakras. And when the nadis or the lines of force that's created by the sound vibration of the Kundalini point, when it crosses those, it intersects, and then you have consciousness. Because remember, the Kundalini is a vehicle of consciousness for the soul. So what the soul attempt is to split the consciousness up so that it can bring about basic consciousness, and so that we can walk around on the most grossest level of Earth, which is this physical plane. Now, in order to get to the higher states now, we must concentrate this energy, bring it back down to the Kundalini, right? Bring all the energy down, and then we can open the door. Now, when you say Kundalini, Kundalini actually also means a 3.5 knot, right? That's been placed at the doorway of the Brahmanati or Shushuna, so that you cannot experience this all awareness that the Shakti consciousness is, right? Because when the presence of Kama, when it creates the Kundalini, it also blocked the doorway, so you can't feel that all aware consciousness that the soul created for us. Now the Brahmanati is where the soul, the higher aspects of you exist. So now, in order to unlock that, you have to drain the 242,000 pathways, right? Lodge it back into the Kundalini and unravel it, and then enter into the Brahmanati, which is the center of Shushana. And when you do that, you can push all the power of the Kundalini back up, and you can experience each realm. On the spinal column, that line of force is the major chakras, right? And when you take all that energy, concentrate it, bring it up, you can open each chakra. And each chakra, when you can do that, you go into a real state of meditation and samadhi. And you have this all awareness at each level when you do that, when you enter into real meditation. So that's the key. Now, all yoga is about purifying the nadi pathways so that you can do what? So that you can push the energy back down to the base and rise it as one energy, right? Other than that, when it's separated, you can experience higher states of consciousness. So that's the whole thing. Every yoga you go into, it will talk about the cleansing of the aura. You know, the purifying of the aura, the purifying of the nadi pathways within the aura. Because what happened in those 242,000 pathways, we clogged them up life after life after life with all different type of obstruction experiences, wrong thought, wrong action, and we create such an impurity that it takes lifetimes to clear up. You know, it takes life. That's why you find that a lot of these religious sects, whether they Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, or whatever, they take drastic measures of renunciation. You know, that's why they do that, in order to try to reverse the negative effects they had on their auric. A lot of them don't know why they're doing it. They just know when they do it, they have these elated states. You know, when they renounce everything around them, and when they concentrate, and then they go back and they concentrate on the absolute, or they do their pranayama or meditations, then they notice that all these wonderful visions and things happen to them. That's why, because they are purifying. They're stopping the modifications. And the modifications is the grasshopping negative thoughts that will allow to impact us on a daily basis. They have divorced themselves from that. And that's why they feel those things. Okay? Yeah.
Going back to the topic, you say that the agent that differentiates the taka into the various rays, is that mind?
No. No. Why you say mind? It creates, it helps split consciousness up. It helps split mind up. But more than anything is Nani and Karma. It's the pressures of Karma and the wisdom of Nani. The sun rays lead the sun via what?
By pulse.
No, via the solar lords. All right? The solar lords helps, because the sun is so. If the mighty sun probably manipulated those rays on our behalf, we probably wouldn't be able to exist on the physical plane. You understand? And when you go back to the Tantra Satra, Satra meaning knowledge, Tantra meaning the looming of the yogas, or the knowledge of the yogas, right? When you go back to that, they describe the history of human existence, right? And they go back 3,000 million years, right? Just here on Earth. And they talk about the sun people versus the moon people. In other words, I'm trying to make it simple so you can understand it, right? Because they go into root race and all of this stuff, right? But in actuality, what they talk about that the Earth had 49 fires, which were 49 chakras, vortex centers. We have 108, the Earth have only 49 chakras. And when man was introduced, when the human was introduced on this planet, they went through the logos of the Earth, and they were born out of the 49 chakras. It wasn't a basic birth of man and woman, because they were born asexual in a sense. They were man and woman, and neither, you know. Now, of course, we understood that in the allegory within Christianity and within all the religions, they give some type of allegory. They talk about Adam and Eve. Of course, Adam was first, right? Now, it's just an allegory. But when you go back to the Tantra Satra, or this ancient history of the Hindus and the Buddhists, you see they talk in almost plain English, in my opinion. And they tell you, okay, you had these group of people that was born through the logos of the Earth. And essentially they were born as adepts because they had no base of the spine. The solar plexus center, the sex center, the solar plexus center, the sex center, and the base of the spine, and the centers and the lower regions of the leg which are the centers for the animals, their base of the spine was at the heart chakra. So they were born adepts. They were born different. They probably had, of course, their bodies were totally different from ours as well. And they live more on an etheric realm than this gross physical plane. And they were called the Adamic man. So as time went on, the planet became grosser and grosser and grosser. So the Adamic man had to phase out, right? Of course, we became, the cycles of the earth changed, in a sense, because we had to, as we became grosser, we had to depend more on the earth and the moon. You understand? So now the Maha Bindus that radiated the energy and that created the mental planes were, of course, the moon. And that's why we're on this 28, 30-day cycle now. And that's why the portal in which we have to enter this physical plane is the womb of a woman and not the Mother Earth anymore, because one of the things, we contaminated the Mother Earth so bad. The layer of the soil of the earth is what? It's dead remains. So we really contaminated. If you look up, you just Google it right now, just look and see what is soil, and they'll tell you it's the dead remains of animals, humans, and plant life or whatever. We contaminated, you know. So the chakras and the logos of the earth was taken away from us. So now we survive by the moonlight and the water that the moon controls, right? And the substance of the earth, the 14 major minerals of the earth, and every combination that can be made from that. You'll find the 14 major minerals within our system, within our bone, cell, tissue, organs. You know, you'll find it within our body. And of course the sunlight, because the sun released the 360 Tavic rays, and 118 Tavic rays go to the earth, and then the earth modifies that in order to help make our physical body and astral body, right? And then I think there's like 104 something Tavic rays that comes directly to the sun that we receive, and the remaining Tavic rays is modified by the moon. I think it's 136 or something. That's modified by the moon, and then that sustains us through the night. You know, because when our bodies get weak, and the solar energies need to do its job while we're asleep, we fall into this deep sleep. At least the physical body does, and then the astral body comes out and make its play on the mental realms, on the astral mental realms. But that's how that works. Okay, so now we are more moon creatures than sun and earth creatures, you know, because why? We live on the mental planes. We experience the world on the mental planes through on the physical mental plane and the emotional unconscious mental plane. You know, if we were true products of the earth, we would experience it 24 hours a day. You know, because everything would be blended as one.
So how does dreams, like, you know, when we go to sleep and we dream every night, how does that fit into the paradigm that you're?
I just said it. I mean, really a dream is, in most cases, a dream is just a recollection of something that happened during the day. In other words, like, well, the mystics believe that, let's say if you enjoy doing something during the day, right, you really enjoy that, when you go to sleep, your astral body is connected to it emotionally. So your astral body will get up and go and repeat that. And then you may have dreams of that, you know. When you become aware, your astral body won't run and do those things so prevalent unless you allow it to. But a dream is just a recollection of something that of a past thought or past experience. Now, and it could be a remembrance of something that you was doing in that unconscious state when the astral body was just like this robot or zombie repeating the things you did during the day. And that's why, like, some people who actually do things that's physically tiring, they go to sleep and they go for rest, but they wake up still tired. Because why? The astral body was doing that thing that they loved doing, which tired them out, you know. And the same thing mentally too. They was doing something mental. They tie themselves out on the astral planes because they can't control their astral body or their emotions, you know.
And about dreams as well, I don't know how to phrase this question, but I guess do you work out things with other people that, I mean, it has nothing to do with what happened in the day, maybe it has to do with a future thing or something?
Maybe sometimes, in extreme cases, I think that happened, you know, where you may go to try to work a difference out with someone. You know, maybe sometime that happens. A lot of, because the astral body is very emotional until you control it. Once you control it, then you can gain control over that emotion. But before then, it's very, very emotional. And when I say emotional, it might not want to work nothing out.
Yeah.
You know, you know, it may not want to work anything out. But once you control that, then you can divorce stuff like that. And you can go about doing the business that you need to do, like learning or whatever.
Sure. And
you know.
what about, say, dreaming with people that are about to die or things like that? What is that?
If it come past, it probably wasn't a dream. So you can have visions.
Okay.
And a lot of people mistake visions for dreams. And then they say, oh, my dream came to pass. No, your dream did not come. It was a vision. Because a lot of times, like say, if you're pressing on something and you're very sensitive to something and it's a higher part of you, I mean, when you think about these things, you're not thinking about it with your lower chakras, you're thinking about it with your higher chakras, then that may allow the higher self to come and give you a message. And it may come in a so-called dream state when it's not a dream state, it's a vision. And usually you could tell when something is a vision because when something's a vision, it feels real. In that dream, when you touch the table, you know that it's cold or hot or whatever. In a dream state, when you touch something, there's no physical reaction to it. It's just a dream. But in a vision state, you actually can feel the sunlight hitting your face, or feel the rain, or the coldness, or whatever. You know, you hear, you think, you see in a vision. You know, and that's the difference between a dream and a vision. You know, some people have visions in the middle of the day. They can be walking and all of a sudden they're walking down the road, and all of a sudden the whole scenery change. Now someone looking at them, they'll look at them and say, what's wrong with that person? They done nutted up. Because you'll stop, you'll look around, you'll hold your hands up or whatever, and you'll say, wait a minute, this area is not supposed to be looking like this. And the vision takes you to a whole different type of reality, and then if you relax into it, you can see the vision. You can see all the things happening, and you say, oh, this is something in the future. Because the message, the higher self, maybe it's been pounding and pounding trying to tell you something, and all of a sudden you're in this perfect state, right? You created all the proper environment to allow the samskaras of this vision to come forward. And then all of a sudden you see the vision, you know? So, and you live it right then and there. So it's a vision is different from a dream or daydreaming. It's real. You know, you can feel it, you can touch it, you know, you experience that. It's a contemplative level of vision. It's not a concentrated level of vision. It's a contemplated level of vision.
Question online.
Mm-hmm.
Should a pregnant woman carry on with the practices like pranayama, mantra, etc.?
Should what?
Should a pregnant woman carry on with the practices like mantra, pranayama, etc.?
Yeah, they can carry on with that. Yeah. Yeah. Why shouldn't they? They helping two souls, themselves and the baby they're carrying, by doing that. Yeah, they can do it. Now they will become ultra sensitive during that time. You know, a pregnant woman, her senses goes up. She becomes really psychic to a certain degree. So it's a good time to do those practices, but you're going to become ultra sensitive now. So you just have to try to practice the first, really practice the first 2 or 3 limbs of yoga, which is yama and niyama. If you're going to do the pranayama and the meditations and mantra and all of that. So where you control, yama is you control your thoughts and actions because you become highly sensitive. A pregnant woman is a psychic woman. So you just have to, if you're going to accentuate that with mantra and pranayama, then you need to take on controlling your thoughts and actions more. Any other questions?
You said something about that the auric body is very emotional too.
No, the astral body. The astral body.
The astral body.
Yeah.
Is the astral body is like on a higher frequency than we are?
Then the physical body. The astral body is a risen body, but it's a counterpart of the physical body. Is that that emotional body that's within us. In other words, it resonates with our emotions.
But it doesn't have any higher like wisdom or anything like that? So it's like higher realm?
Not really. No. It has if you look through the astral body in a controlled manner, you could see things that you don't normally see. But don't have no greater wisdom. It have a greater perspective. You want to call that wisdom. But the first level of psychic ability, to do it in simple terms, is when the astral senses and the physical senses merge together. Because the same way you have a physical eye, you have an astral eye. You have an astral nose, an astral mouth, an astral ear, in the same way you have all your physical senses, right? You actually have 10 senses. And when those 10 senses merge together, it turns into psychic senses, okay? And that's basic psychic ability, okay? And it's not no Superman stuff, because in the beginning, it's very emotional. When your psychic eyes begin to open up, you may only see psychically when you get emotional. Someone makes you angry, and then all of a sudden, before you were just seeing a ziggly line around them, right? A ziggly line, I'm sure probably some of y'all see that already, right? Yeah, you see the ziggly white light line, but when you get angry and you have developed your basic psychic power, that ziggly white line, you begin to see these bursts of colors. And it pisses you off because then you can sense what the person actually thinking about you. So, so a lot of times when you begin to develop these powers, it only accentuates itself through emotion. Because why? Because the astral and physical, and the astral is very emotional. It's not until you bring control over those senses through techniques of Raja Yoga and pranayama and meditation, you can bring control over that, then you can turn it on and turn it off. And then you can use it on a regular basis. But in the beginning, it's very emotional.
You probably got to get control of your physical mind first.
Yes, you have to get control over your thoughts, right? And your actions and your emotions, and then you can begin to focus. Because other than that, it'll happen when you get angry, you begin to see these lights, you begin to pick up the thoughts, or you get sick, or you get happy or elated by something, then all of a sudden you can begin to see things and hear things, but it's not, and then it's the seasons of the month too, or the seasons of the year. The season of the year, I mean. Certain seasons you're more psychic than other seasons. So, and that's why, because basic psychic ability is usually, it comes when the astral senses and physical senses merges. That's why it's so fickle. It's very fickle. Not until you go to a whole nother level. Not until you go to a whole nother level of controlling it, and then you take the psychic senses and merge it with the etheric senses, right? And then you have this precision, this dead on. But you have to control the astral and physical senses first in order to get to that level. See? So, and that's done through practices of Raja Yoga. And then when you get that control over the psychic senses, then you have to go through a period of taking what's called samyamas on everything around you. Well, where you look at something on a psychic level and learn the nature of that. It's the same way when you begin to, if you've never seen before, if you were blind and all of a sudden now you can see, you have no depth perception. You have no, you see that door, but when you look at it, you think you can just reach your hand out and pull the door back. Because why? My two fingers reach the top and bottom of it. You have no depth perception. Or you go on the fourth floor and you say, oh, that's a little toy car there. And you go and try to pick it up and fall to your death. You have no depth perception. So when you get these psychic abilities, you have to develop that type of ability. You have to understand that it's a way to know and to calculate it. It's all a science. It's all a science. It just don't come and then all of a sudden you can do all this, because you'll do all the wrong things. You won't understand what you're seeing. You will not understand at all what you're seeing. So you have to develop an understanding of it. You have to see the patterns and how things work. It's a science behind it. And a lot of people don't like to talk about that because maybe a lot of people don't even realize it and know it. And the worst thing to do is to try to teach a person who have seen psychically for a long time, because they have this altered reality, and it's a lot of guesswork, It's a lot of guesswork. It's not until they take it serious and say, okay, this is the way it is. And then once you learn all of that, you take that energy and you take it to a different level in order to gain understanding and knowledge, and connect yourself with everything. And that's where the masters say, well, you give up this ability in order to get this supreme God understanding and knowledge of things, so you can see things on a larger level in order to help people. So it's little tiny baby steps that lead you there, but it's not instant. It's not when you start astral projecting or etheric projecting, all of a sudden you have this great wisdom. No, if you was an idiot here, you're going to be an idiot there. The same way when you die. If you're an idiot here, you're going to be an idiot over there. And you're going to join a lot of other idiots, on that plane of existence. It's not going to be all of a sudden I have this great wisdom. No, someone's still going to have to teach you and guide you and show you the difference. It's not going to translate into this wonderful thing. It's not going to do that. So, understand that and know that,
I have
Yeah.
a question about the moon. I don't know much about, actually, I really don't know anything about that. So,
Mm-hmm.
I guess we're now more moon people or something like that you said, and what are the energies that come with it, or what's,
Well,
if you could explain a little?
in a simple way,
Yeah, thank you.
the monthly cycle of a woman is what?
Yeah, 28 years.
It's a lunar cycle.
Yeah, yeah.
How do we get to this earth? What portal we go through?
Mm-hmm.
We go through the woman. So our cycles are that 28, 30-day cycle. Because that's where our mental, and we experience this world through what? Through what? Through consciousness. The physical body is what? It's just a vehicle. All right? And the child is more connected to who? The mother. So it's just that simple. In the yoga diagrams, you'll notice that when they mention the moon in what? In the Christ center and the throat center, right? In the Christ center, we know the Christ center to be what? The command center. And the throat center to be what? The purification center. And the expression of what? Of the mental world in a gross aspect through sound. So we express our will through the throat center. But the command comes from where? And all this happened where? With the moon Tavic rays. Because why? We're using the womb of a woman as our portal to come to this physical plane. And that's why that's important. And that's why society as a whole, we have to move to the point where we respect the woman more. That's something that we have to do. We have to come to that level of understanding that females, whether you like it or not, are closer to the source than what the males are. They're closer to God. They have a natural psychic or inspirational intuition. You can always, especially if they really care about you, you can always get their opinion on something that you're getting ready to go do. Because if your eyes are blind and closed to it and you can't see because your intention is just to go do what you want to do, you can always reach back to them and get their opinion. And if they love you, they'll tell you, they'll say it's good or bad. because they're connected to that. And sometimes we are, man, we're our worst enemy. Well, humans, our basic self is our worst enemy. It's not somebody outside of us. It's our intentions a lot of times. So just as simple as that, that's what that is. It's a cycle. If you go back to when you go back to the tantric yoga classes I gave, we talk about the conversion points, and the conversion points is the granting knots within the body. And those granting knots, you'll notice that the mental world is made up of the moon, of the reflected Tavic rays coming from the sun, being reflected off the moon, and it creates the mental worlds around the earth, And that's how we experience these mental worlds. And the command center, what it does is connect it to the sex center, right? That's how we communicate with the command center. It's connected with the sex center. The sex center is the seat of consciousness for man. So if you notice that the sex center is what? The sex center is that center that receives the Vijnana energy, and the Vijnana energy, in its highest sense, is etheric liquid. It's water, and that energy permeates the entire body. Because why? It takes consciousness. It moves consciousness throughout the whole body. See, so that's how the command center places its commands throughout the body is through the sex center, the seat of consciousness. And of course we know that the male genitalia and the female genitalia is right in that center, and that's the portal in which we come into the world, and that's the seat of consciousness. Now above that is the seat of the soul, which is the heart chakra. That's where the soul seat is, right? And because the soul moves from the crown chakra and takes residence at the heart chakra. So once you reach the soul, once you can move your consciousness to above the soul level, then you become this more of a spiritual being. But right now, all of us, majority of us, we work from the base and the sex center, and maybe the solar plexus center. But so that's what it is. That's why we say, at least I say, we're moon creatures, because we live on the mental world with the help of the moon, the reflective energies of the moon. Yeah.
Wouldn't that make us a lot more fickle, since we're a lot more focused on the mind and the soul?
That make us a lot more what?
Fickle.
Don't you think we are? Huh?
Focused on the mind, you focus on every
Yeah.
little discomfort or conflict.
Yeah, and that's why Swami Patanjali, through the sutras of Patanjali, you heard the sutras of Patanjali. That's why his famous quote was what? To stop the modifications. Because what happened on the valence level of your aura is all these grasshopping thoughts. What we do, we respond to our what? To our senses, right? We get cold, the physical body get cold, and we immediately go run and grab a coat. When really we have the power to just turn on a heat mechanism in our body and stay warm. If you have the Buddhists, the Raja Yoga Buddhists who are in the mountains, in the freezing mountains, they walk around with no jackets, right? Because what? It get cold, they turn the heat thing on. And some people who went there, they say they touched their skin and their skin is warm. But what we do, we grasshopping, we move back and forth. We don't go inside. We stay on this surface. And we respond to the thousands and thousands of sensations coming from outside of us. So therefore, we don't know what's inside. And it reflects itself in this world too, because the ocean is probably full of resources. Our science barely go down to the bottom of the ocean to find out what's there. We always got our eyes up in the space somewhere, So that's, we're kind of fickle type people. When really the life-sustaining thing about us is what? Huh? Water.
Yeah, they put so much money into like growing plants on Mars.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. When we really should be going down into the ocean and going into the earth and finding more out about that and sustaining ourselves here. But our focus is outside of this planet. It's ridiculous. And that's a fickleness about us. So yeah. But we must control mind. We must control the mind so that we can harness the power within us. This tremendous energy flows through the auric body. Enough energy to move the earth off its axis. Each one of us have enough energy within the auric body to move the earth off its axis. And that's according to the great masters. But we need to be able to tap into that. And the way you tap into it is through the 8 limbs of yoga, in a sense. It gives you the pathway to tapping into that higher power.
Is that how you tap into will and what?
Yeah, because that's the pathway. That's the pathway to do it, the 8 limbs of yoga. It gives you a pathway to be able to do that. The first thing it tells you is control what? The thoughts and actions, Okay, any other questions? We've been here for an hour now, right? Over an hour, right? If there's no other questions, then we can,
Keep on going.
okay.
Nothing so far.
So I remember you was saying something about developing psychic abilities. First starts off with contemplation, concentration, and then later on you reach on that meditative state. Is that something that you should be consistent in contemplating on to achieve that aim of developing and merging those psychic senses, the physical?
Well, I don't want to say too much there, but there's an actual, there's actual practices to do that. That's the Raja Yoga classes I was telling you about. There's actual practices to. It's actually too complicated to go into. Just I don't want to speak out of turn, but there's procedures to go through in order to bring that about. So.
It's concentration, contemplation, and meditation.
Yeah, those are like the major steps.
Concentration first, contemplation second. Meditation.
But it's all done, it's done through a series of practices. It's done through a series of Raja Yoga, Kriya Yoga, and Mudra Yoga, Mantra Yoga. It's a combined practice of all those yogas and techniques that you put together in order to influence the notic flow within the body. So it's not as simple as most people think it is. But once we start back the Raja Yoga classes, I'll let you know, and I'll give you the techniques. Okay, we can close out if there's no other questions. We'll close out with a prayer. Here you go.
The New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power, to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. Oh, great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing, granted energy to sing on forever and forever. Thank you for watching. See you next week. And tomorrow, last week's class will be released online.